Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Lee Platt and we're here at my facility Influx Studios on the Staffordshire Cheshire border in England, UK. We're sitting in front of my beautiful SSL G Series 4048 console. Now today we're diving into something that's essential for anyone that's running a classic SSL console in 2025, and that's the THD Labs Tangerine automation interface. Now if you're working on an SSL 4000 or another large format console and you want to bring that full dynamic automation back into modern workflow, this fabulous Tangerine coloured box is your best friend. The Tangerine is a modern automation interface. It's made by Canadian-based THD Labs and it's designed specifically for vintage SSL consoles like the 4000E and 4000G series, as well as a range of other large format consoles. Now originally these desks used outdated floppy disk based SSL automation and total recall systems. They were phenomenal in the day, but not that reliable by today's standards. The Tangerine replaces or supplements the original SSL automation computer, allowing you to record, edit and automate your fader movements and mutes in real time using modern DAW integration over Ethernet or USB. No more floppy disks, no more crashes, just a rock solid interface that breathes new life into your console. So, how does it actually work? Well, first, the Tangerine unit connects to your SSL computer bus. It then reads and writes automation data from the console's faders, specifically the VCA or moving faders depending on your system, and it syncs it with your DAW or its own standalone software called the Tangerine Automation Engine. Now here's a cool part. You can write automation in real time whilst mixing, just like in the good old days, but with the convenience of modern backups and session recall. It works with Pro Tools, Logic and other systems by syncing via MIDI timecode and directly controlling the session transport. Right now I've got a mix loaded, so let's jump straight in and see it in action. Okay. So we're in a session, we're in Pro Tools. This is a track called OK When I'm Not. It's a track that I wrote with a co-writer, Simeon Green, here at Influx Productions. So we're going to use this as source material. It's a nice little track, pretty simple, not too many things going on there, and it's all been stemmed out of Pro Tools to the SSL console. You'll be able to see here on the track list down here, we've got summing out to SSL 9 and 10 all the way through to 37 and 38 in this particular session. So the first 8 channels and some of the latter channels on the SSL we don't need to use. So we've also got the session here which has got the Tangerine system, the Tangerine automation interface, TAI, from THD Labs. We'll have a look at that in a second. We've also got the automation window. There's also some memory locators down there as well. But the 2 key windows that we're interested in is the session, the DAW, in this case Pro Tools, could be Logic, could be any other DAW that you choose to use, and also the Tangerine interface, which is over here. So let's jump straight in. What do we need to know? How do these things actually connect? So one of the key functionalities for connecting the SSL with the Tangerine with the DAW software is the plugin. It's called the Mothership. So let's have a look at this. There we go. So that is the THD Labs Mothership. This talks to the Tangerine system, which talks to the SSL and vice versa. So let's have a look at this plugin first. So you get this plugin, essentially you go into your plugin library. Down here it's under THD Labs and it's under the Mothership there. So that's what it actually looks like. So we've got from the top left, you've got the mix on and mix off button. As you can see, once I press on the mix on and mix off, it also links that to the THD Labs Tangerine over here. I can also do it on the Tangerine as well, and again you'll see those linked. I can also do that on the console by using the mix on and mix off button, as you can see there on the screen as well. So pretty straightforward. That will essentially turn on the mix automation when you're ready to start laying down some automation on your track. Up to this point, typically you will have worked on the session, worked on the track, got that into a place where you're feeling comfortable and the track's pretty much 90% there, and then you just want to add that extra 10%. You just want to do the automation and just get the track finished and finalized. So let's carry on. We've got the enable automation on here. So as you can see, we've got read and write. So this is essentially telling the system what you want to read from the SSL and what automation you want to write on the SSL. So we've got the fader automation, read and write, and we've got the mute or the cut information, as it's called here, for read and write. For the plugin itself, you've got different sizes, so you can size this accordingly. So we've got 8 channels of automation, 16, 24 and 32. I like to have it on 32. Gives me the opportunity to see all of the SSL console just by flicking through to these move to end and move to start points here. So on the screen, as you can see, we've got channels 1 through to 32. Some of the faders are up, which replicate where the mix currently is at on the board. And if I just click on this move to last, then it jumps from faders 25 through to 48, plus all of the 8 VCA channels on the console, which you can all see are at steady volume around about -5. And then you've got the rest of the mix faders there going up to 38, with 39 through to 48 currently being not in use. So pretty straightforward so far. You've then got the general automation modes down here. So start at the bottom and you've got the preview, off and write. You've got preview, off and read, and then you've got absolute modes to read or write information, and then read and latch on the touch automation. And then you can go into trim mode as well, which essentially keeps the data that you've written. So it keeps the automation data and allows you to just trim that. So if you'd got a base part, you've written the automation through that, and you just wanted to say, turn everything up 1 or 2 dB, or particular sections of it just up or down a couple of dB, then you could use your trim automation for that. Most of the stuff that I do, I'm using absolute automation. So again, you can select your different modes on here, as you can see. You can also do that on the Tangerine over here, and you'll see on both of the screens that when I change, they are also linked. Again, I can also do that on the console. So over here, if I want to jump into my read and write information, I can do that there, and it automatically selects that in the plugin and the Tangerine, which is brilliant. So really, really simple to use. Everything works perfectly. It's all synced. There's no sort of lag or delay, which is just nice. So that's the actual plugin itself. Let's jump over to the Tangerine system here. So again, on the screen, it's laid out. It's really simple to use. It looks very similar to the original SSL automation, so they've tried to keep the look and the sort of feel of it as close as possible. So what have we got on the screen here? Well, first of all, you can see the Influx logo on there, which is a nice touch. So you can actually get your own logo or any other graphic, and you can import that into the Tangerine. You do that under the setup menu on one of the tabs at the top. It's just a nice little touch to have. So what have we got here? As you can see on the screen, we've got the bar meters, which represent essentially fader levels on the SSL. You can see on the first 8, then they are at 0 value because the faders are actually turned down. And then you've got the actual mix data here. So from channels 9 going through. You've got the different fader levels. You've got a couple of faders here which on the console are channels 21 and 22, which are not in use, so those are turned down. And then it goes through from 23, 24, coming all the way through there. And then you've also got the 38 and 39 are actually again turned down, and the rest of the console's turned down. We've got the VCA faders, which are all set around about -5 there or thereabouts at the moment. So that's the current state of the console, and that is just representing where the fader levels are at the moment. Underneath the faders, you've got these little boxes. They represent the cuts or the mutes on the SSL. There's no mutes on at the moment for the faders that are active, but if I want to go in there and just show you how that works, let's go into channel 28 on the console. So if I go into that on here, and I can literally just go onto that, as you can see on the screen, that brings up the red square which highlights the cut or the mute, and I turn it off, and again it jumps back to the previous fader level. You'll also see that on the screen on the plugin itself. So the cut light comes on, the fader goes to 0, and once I turn that off, the cut light goes out and the fader resumes back to original level, which is great. On here, again, you've got that all the way through. You can lay out this to customize the way that you actually want to see that. And again, you do that through the setup menu. You can move the chunks of 8 channels in any format that you like. I like it in this format. It's really easy to follow. So you got 1 through there to 24, 25 through to 48, and then I've got my 8 channel VCAs there as well. Below that, you've then got the connections. So we are connected up through MIDI via USB. So the light is green, which is good to go. You've then got injector mode. So we are connecting using the injector software interface, which essentially connects to the mothership. And it shows you there that we've got an active connection and the mothership plugin is live. So all green is good. And let's move down. Here you've got the mix on and mix off button. Again, as earlier, you can turn that on via this Tangerine system. You can do it on the plugin on the mothership, or you can do it on the console as well. We've then got level match. Then you've got the set information. So set your automation here. You've got it all to off. You can set it all to write, latch, or read. At the moment we're off. We've not written any information in there. And then over to the right hand side, you've also got the different automation modes as shown on the plugin as well. And again, you can address those and select those here on the mothership plugin or on the SSL console itself. So really useful. Again, really easy and simple to follow. At the top of the screen, you've got these different tabs. The one that we're on at the moment is Mixed View. Other ones in there, you've got the recall function. So total recall on the SSLs, essentially you can save a snapshot of that. That will then save a snapshot of every channel on the console. And that saves essentially every parameter. So everything from the routing matrix down to the mic and line inputs, the dynamic section, the EQ section, all of the cues, all of the buttons, small fader, pan, everything is stored as a snapshot. When you go back in, you can then recall the whole of the console, and it's just a case of then going through and lining things up. I'll go through a demonstration of that a little bit later on. But again, that was part of the original system. It was one of the main key benefits of the SSL consoles back in the day when SSL originally launched. The automation system and the ability to recall, it was an absolute game changer. And it was one of the functionalities of an SSL, amongst many others, which is why they became a sort of an industry standard, especially for mixing, because it allowed you the ability to recall a session with accuracy on the board. And you could do that, or I suppose back in the day your assistant or assistants would have done that, and they could do that really effectively and really quickly just by following the on-screen instructions and just mapping and getting things lined up to where they should be. There is some variance in those. You can set the variance inside of the plugin. Around about 3 to 5% is quite normal. I think that's where it's at the moment. So we'll go back into that. You've then got the file menu. This is where you save and recall the snapshots of the console. So you've got the one loaded at the moment, which is the actual track that we're working on. So you can load them, you can delete them, you can change the location that they are saved. Everything is saved to your host computer. So my Mac at the moment, it shows you the destination there. So in the Mac, I'm connected to a separate LaCie hard drive, and they're stored in there. They store everything with the actual Pro Tools or the Logic session. So super easy to recall. Everything's in one place. You load up the DAW, and within the folder there, you've got the session linked to the Tangerine system that allows you to recall the information, do the mix recall all of the console. You can do everything that you want to do because it's all in the same place, which is great. You've then got the setup menu, which again goes through which sort of interface mode do you want. We're on injector mode, so you can go through and say, what sort of things do you want to do once you've finished a passive automation. This one jumps straight back into read mode automatically again, which is really useful. You can update the software and the firmware as well. You can also change the mix layout, which I mentioned earlier. So it's super simple to use. And then the status button at the end, it just essentially shows you which MIDI ports we're actually using on there. So super easy to date. So let's go in. We've got this mix at the moment. We'll just play the mix as it is. Just from the start, we'll just play the first few seconds of the track.
As sharp as a knife, it's coming to life. I know just how it feels. I feel it coming, but keep on running, and now it's on my heels. I'm taking a turn, but still I don't learn and lock it all away. And I just don't know how I get so low. There must be a better way. Can't say that it hurts.
Okay, so first part of the track sounds okay. It's work in progress, but there are a couple of things that I want to start automating. So we could go through the whole track, and typically when I'm doing a mix, I'll be automating many faders at the same time. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to select a couple of things that I just want to automate. One of those is going to be the lead vocal, and the other one that I've selected is just going to be some of the tom fills. So on the screen in Pro Tools at the moment, you can see that those toms are here, and they are outputting to channels 17 and 18 onto the console. So we can see on the plugin channel 17 and 18 are here, and if I go through and select those on here and move the faders, again you can see that those faders actually move on the screen. And on the Tangerine system as well, again you can see the bar meters actually change when I go in and move those. So All that's working great. So how do I start to automate? We're going to do the lead vocal first, and the lead vocal is on channels 25, and there's a double on 26 as well. But they are both been sending, along with some harmonies, to VCA 8, which is the VCA that I always have my lead vocals on. So VCA 8 is over here on the plugin. Again, if I just go in onto the board and just move VCA 8, then again you can see that on the mothership plugin, and you can also see it on the Tangerine. So that's all working again. Great. So that's what we're going to do first. So how do we do that in the session? So again, we're using Pro Tools here, but however you write automation in your DAW, it's exactly the same process. So jumping into Pro Tools here, we've got a track which I call SSL Automation. It's also coloured the same colour as the Tangerine, which is my OCD coming through. You always have to have this in touch mode. So when you go into your DAW and select the different automation modes for the Tangerine system, it's always in touch mode. You've then got the plugin, which is live and active and on the screen. So that's all good. And then you can go into your different lanes of automation. So on here, I've got the first lane of automation. As it shows, you've got VCA 8. So if I go into the mothership, I can go into that, and I've got all the different automation modes here. So for each one of the channels, each one of the faders, 1 through to 48, then I've got my fader, I've got a cut, I've got a trim, and then if you just scroll down, you've also got the VCAs. So I've got the VCA 8 selected there, which is great, and that's the one that we are going to automate. I've also created another couple of lanes of automation here, and on those we've got fader 17 and fader 18, which, if you remember, those are the automation lanes for the toms on the console. We just have a look on the screen here for the toms. You may be able to see some of the waveform on the screens. We've got a few hits there. So we'll jump in at a section relevant and just automate some of those tom fills as well. Okay, so how do we all get this singing and dancing? How do we get this all connected? We're going to go into here. We've got our automation touch selected. We've got the plugin open, which is great. The other thing that you can do in Pro Tools, you can't do this with some other DAW systems. I don't think that you can do this within Logic. I may stand corrected. Please do, if anybody knows, put a note in the comments if you know how to do this same feature in Logic. That would be highly useful. But in the little mix window down here on the screen, we've got the opportunity to write on stop. And if I press that, it goes blue. What that essentially means is that once we've started automation rolling, as soon as I stop the playback, that's going to write the levels of automation at that point right to the end of the track, right to the end of the session, which is really useful, especially on the first pass of a mix. It just saves you going through all of the track in real time and just letting it record all of that level automation. That's what we're going to do. So right on stop, we'll just let it play for the first few seconds. We'll stop it. It will write the automation then for every track on the SSL, and then we can go back and just manipulate and override and do what we want to do with the ones that we have chosen. So right on stop is selected. We're going to go into the injector here. We're going to go into the Tangerine system. We're currently in preview, off and write mode. We can stay in that for the moment in time because we're currently off. We want to go in and write all the automation on the console, so we can stay in that particular mode, which is fine. And then down here we've got the set all. So at the moment we're in off. We want to go into write mode. So if I click on that, everything will go red. Okay, so red is hot, we're ready to go. As you can see on the console, again, when I select into write mode, at the moment on each of the faders, we've got the green and the red lights highlighted. That shows that we're off. When we go into write, the board will go red and we're ready to write information. So that's that done. We're ready to do a quick pass, so I can either go into the session and start it from there, or I can just jump onto the console and start playback on here, which is what we'll do now.
As sharp as a knife, it's coming to life. I know
You can probably
just
see that the
how it
automation here has been written. It's going red on the automation lanes. We've got 3 of the 48 tracks plus the VCA selected here. So as you can see, it's writing information for all of those 3. So let's stop it there. Okay, great. So it goes back to 0. Automation has been written right to the end of the track, and then everything's gone back to green. And in this session, we're in read mode. You can see in the Tangerine system at the top that everything has gone to R, which is read. So that's all good. If that didn't happen, you can just click on the read button there, and that will jump into read mode for you. So that's the first pass of the automation done. Really simple so far. What we'll do is we'll just jump into the mothership. We're just going to close that down for a second so we can just see the session and we can see the Tangerine system here. So we want to go in and we want to automate our VCA 8, which is our lead vocal channel. So we're going to do that first. I can make that a little bit bigger on the screen here just so we can see that better. We just want to do that one particular channel. We don't want to do automation for the whole of the track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the console. I'm going to go over to my Group 8 VCA, and what that allows me to do is it allows me to essentially turn on write information, write automation for that particular track or those particular tracks that I select. In order to do that, we need to go out of off and write mode and we need to go into read and write mode. So we're currently in read. As you can see on there, we've got all of the channels are in read mode. They're all green. What that allows me to do is on the particular fader, so our VCA 8, if I go into the automation mode and I hit that, it essentially allows me to select between write and read. So read is green, write is red. And I can essentially drop in and drop out of that automation as and when I need to make my changes. So I can arm it, make the changes, make the edits, and come out again. So really, really simple. Original automation from the SSL. It's still, in my opinion, the simplest and the most efficient, type of automation out there. It's what Pro Tools, it's what Logic, it's what all of the other systems are based upon. They can, of course, automate absolutely anything at the moment, but for the purposes of mixing and the purposes of the SSL, it's really the volume automation, mute automation that we're interested in automating. So let's go into that. I'm just going to go into there, select that. That goes red. Red is good to go. We'll start the track. We'll make a few changes and we'll jump back into the session.
As sharp as a knife, it's coming to life. I know just how it feels. I feel it coming, but keep on running, and now it's on my heels. I'm taking a turn, but still I don't learn and lock it all away. And I just don't know how I get so low. There must be a better way.
Okay, great. So first part of that pass done. Jump back into Pro Tools here and you can see on the screen the automation changes that we've just made. So let's just zoom into that for a second. And you can see there, as I move the faders, it's captured that information. It's captured those moves inside of Pro Tools. So Super simple, just like any other controller would, whether you're doing that with the mouse, whether you're doing it with a separate controller system that you're using. It's writing the information inside of Pro Tools in the lane where I can go in and edit that now as you would with any other type of automation. So if we just play that back.
As sharp as a knife, it's coming to life. I know just how it feels. I feel it coming.
If you just have a look at the VCA bar graph over here on the TAI, there you go. You're just seeing that change go up. It'll go up again a little bit here. You'll get the big dip. There we go. So it's reading that automation that we just put into Pro Tools, which is great. Okay, let's stop it there. I can go into here and I can manipulate this again in any way that I want to. So, you know, let's do that there. As I play this back, you will now see on the Tangerine that the fader there, the bar graph for VCA 8 will jump down as I play this back. There you go. You can also hear, obviously, the vocal disappears because we've just turned that down significantly. So let's bring that, we can bring that back up. We can go in and we can just delete any automation that we've written. There's an example on this section here. So we've got that dip. You saw, just play that again. You'll just watch the fader just go up and down on the Tangerine. There we go. So if we didn't want that, we can just go in, we can delete that, we just play that back.
And I just don't know.
And it's gone. So it's just super efficient, super simple. So you can actually do the automation and you can write automation on the SSL itself, which will record into the DAW, or write automation inside of the DAW, which will replay back onto the SSL. And of course, we're manipulating audio. So this is analog. It's not a digital controller. We're not just doing that within the box and automating a plugin or automating the volumes inside of Pro Tools. We're automating the actual SSL. So we're automating in the analog domain. Remember that anything going to the SSL, any plugins that you've got on any of the session, any of the automation that you do inside of the DAW is pre-SSL. So that will be sent out into the SSL through the inputs into the channel, and then anything inside of the SSL, any automation on the volume, the levels, the mutes that we're doing inside of the console is what's being recorded and stored within the Tangerine system and being recorded and replayed back through the automation in your DAW, which is what we're doing at the moment. So that's that one done for the vocal. What about the toms? So exactly same principle applies. On here we've got the two tom lanes, fader 17 and 18, which represent what they are onto the SSL. So as we can see on the timeline here, we've got, if we go into the toms, let's make those a little bit bigger, and let's just see where we've got some points. There's one, there's a few. So if we jump in here and we'll just, again, arm the tracks, we're in the right mode on the Tangerine system, so we're in read write. Again, I can just go back into the console and I can go into the automation system and I can just arm those tracks so they go into write. As you can see on there on the Tangerine, they're in write mode. So I can go into here, I can just play the track.
To myself and to everyone else, I'm okay when I'm not. I should be shouting it out, but I can't find the words.
A couple more coming up.
So why do I shut it out? I just can't say I'm okay when I'm not. I should be shouting it out, but I can't find the words to say anymore.
Okay, come out. So as you can see on the screen, again, it's written in that automation. So it's written it there. I can go back into that and I can, again, go in. I can edit. I can delete. I can do whatever I want to do. I can go back in and I can just literally go in and just write automation for those channels, and that will replay that back. Super easy. We can say, well, actually, We don't like those, we don't like the volume of those. We can go back and do that again. We can get rid of them entirely. Again, we can do whatever we want to do. If we also don't like the information, the automation that we've written on the vocal, again, I can just null that back to the original point. So super, super easy to use, user friendly. They've really, really thought this through. Again, staying true to the original automation system, or as close as they possibly could. It looks familiar, it feels familiar, but it's not writing it to the old SSL computer. You haven't got to store it on floppy disks. Everything's in with your DAW session in the same file, in the same place, recorded in the DAW. So when you play back the session, as long as it's connected to the Tangerine system, it will play back that automation as saved and as recorded. So absolutely superb. So let's go in and have a look at the recall, the total recall as it was on the SSL. So we're going to recall. As you can see on here, you've got the full channel strip. We can also go into bank mode on here, so we can see that channel broken down into sections. You've got the channel numbers across the top, so there 17 through to 24 is being shown, and you can just see the monitor section, the cues, your EQ section. You can just view the dynamics. You've got your assign there, which on here is your buses. I like to use the strip mode, so it shows you everything for each individual channel. On here we're on channel 18 at the moment on one screen. So it's already saved this particular session, but if I wanted to resave it, what would I do? Really simple. As on the original, you take a snapshot. So you snapshot that. It's much quicker in the Tangerine system as it was on the old SSL computer. It allows you to go in, you can create a name, a title, put the artist, the customer, the producer, and any notes that you want to in the box there, and you would click on save. Again, that's going to save that in my folder on my Lacy hard drive. So I don't need to do that, I've already done it. So we just go back into recall here, and as you can see on the screen, there's no red buttons. Anything that is red means it is out. So if I will go into the SSL now and I go into, let's say, the EQ section, I go into the low frequency, and we're on channel 18 at the moment. So let's just move that particular knob. And as you can see on the screen, as I turn the knob on the console, then it turns it on the screen. And what we're looking for on here is for me to get to the green bar. Once I get to the green bar, the red light will go out and we're where we should be. Again, I can do that on any of the pots. I can also do that on any of the buttons as well. So let's go to the insert. So there you go, it's red because it's in, it should be out. So I deselect that, the light goes out. On the pre, I press that, it should be out. There we go. If I go into the channel section, so I'll turn the EQ on. As you can see on there, you've got the lights. So again, really, really simple to use. So that is that, all working the way it should. I can do that into any of these. So if I go into the cues, you've got the red box that comes behind it. There we go. And again, if I just turn that and adjust it, it's going to tell me where it actually should be located. And again, the buttons on there, there's that pre or post fader. There we go. So that's the recall session. On here as well, again, you've got your file. It shows you those recall snapshots, which one is loaded, and you've got all of the saved ones in the file there. So we've got that particular track is loaded. It shows there on the button that is loaded. The setup again is where you can change the look and the selections of which interface you want to use, what happens when you stop automation, etc. They've really, really thought this through. Again, staying true to the original automation system. or as close as they possibly could. It looks familiar, it feels familiar, but it's not writing it to the old SSL computer. You haven't got to store it on floppy disks. Everything's in with your DAW session in the same file, in the same place, recorded in the DAW. So when you play back the session, as long as it's connected to the Tangerine system, it will play back that automation as saved and as recorded. So absolutely superb. So you can do that for every channel. Takes a minute, I'll be honest, to do that. If you wanted to reset and recall the whole of the board, we've got 48 channels on this particular console. It's going to take you around about half an hour, realistically, to do that. You just work your way through. I always go from channels 1 through to 48. You work on that basis. It's really straightforward, a channel strip at a time. You go through, you make your changes, and you work your way up. Once all that's done, there will be no red lights, nothing will be highlighted in red. Everything is ready to go. And that allows you to do a total recall of the console. So that is the Tangerine system by THD Labs for the SSL for my 4048G Plus, working with Pro Tools in this scenario. I also use it with Logic, or you could use it with whatever DAW that you want to use. So super simple, super efficient, really brings the SSL into the 21st century, allows you to get all of that DAW control with the automation, but to do that on a real SSL console. And a hybrid or analog workflow, like here at Influx, automation is everything, especially if you're doing level rides, vocal rides, or automating the bus groups. The Tangerine makes it possible to work on an SSL console like it's 1985, but with the control and safety of a 2025 workflow. It's super intuitive, just like working on an SSL should feel. Whether you're mixing, doing stem rides, or just love working hands-on, this brings the SSL automation back in a modern, practical way. You don't have to give up the sound and feel of your desk to have proper recall and automation anymore. So that's a quick look at the THD Labs Tangerine automation interface in action here at Influx Studios. If you're running a G series or E series SSL, this really is a no-brainer upgrade. If you've enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe. We've got loads more SSL gear, classic outboard and production tips coming soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.